Howdy, folks, and welcome to the first episode of Clary's Corner. I'm your host, Heath Clary. I'm a published author of what I believe is the definitive college baseball book ever written. During my senior year of college at Texas A&M, where I graduated from, I was granted unparalleled, unprecedented, and basically unlimited access to the inner workings of Texas A&M baseball, and I wrote a book about what it's like going through the ups and downs of a major college baseball program. It's never been done before with the type of access that I had, and the finished product was a great book that people in the baseball community, whether that was players, coaches, or media members, said it was one of the best baseball books they've read, and specifically college baseball being the main topic. The reason that I wanted to start this show is because for a long time, I don't believe there are many who know more about sports and can talk about sports better than I can. From the time I was in probably middle school, maybe even elementary school, my friends called me a sports encyclopedia, which to be honest doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. But in recent years, I had a few people tell me that there's no reason that I shouldn't be on air, which I didn't know really what that meant, but I think what it meant was that with all of the radio shows, TV shows, podcasts, YouTube shows kind of sprouting up all over, it seems like you're just inundated with dozens and dozens each week of new shows that pop up in today's media world. So I finally thought, with my one book out and one more coming, and hopefully many more coming down the line, that now would be as good a time as any to get this show started. I'll be having guests, great guests, every episode. Probably we'll start out with one guest per episode and maybe increase from there. Coaches, players, media members, anybody who I've kind of built a good relationship with in my years in sports media. So I have high hopes for this show. We'll talk about, like I said, good guests. We'll talk about topics that I find interesting, and hopefully you do as well. So thank you again for joining us, and let's get started for the first episode.
Heath Clary. Heath did something no man had ever done before. Walk into the coach of the college baseball team and say, "Coach, can I go wherever you guys go?" Travel some, be around the entire team, and then document it all. Clubhouse, dugout.
But it was a great team with a lot of talent, and like I said, I think all those guys will play in the big leagues pretty soon. We got Zach DeLoach, outfielder in the Seattle organization. Zach, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. How are you doing?
Doing well. Congrats on being the first guest in Clary's Corner. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here via Zoom.
Exactly.
Wish
yeah.
I could be there in person.
Maybe we'll have a studio one day. All right. So you were the one of the main pieces in my book that I came out with last year. I got to kind of be inside the program at Texas A&M. What was it like? I'm just curious what it was like with me kind of being around you guys as much as I was, knowing that a book was being written. Did that change y'all at all?
No, I think honestly, because this was sophomore year, right? So you would have been in the dugout all sophomore year, correct?
Yep.
No, I think you actually blended in really well. I was pretty proud of how you were kind of incognito, just kind of moving in and out of the dugout, and but you were obviously you did your job, and you were asking questions at the right time, and I think the thing that you did really well compared to like other news people is like you kind of waited for the right opportunities to kind of throw yourself into like certain people, I guess, like certain situations. So like if it was like in between an inning, obviously, then you can go talk to a coach or something like that, or you can talk to a player. But obviously during the game, you were locked in and you were obviously listening to what we were saying, and I think that's a really cool inside feature that you got to do and you got to listen to, and just kind of how we game plan and how we're able to kind of strategize each game and what our approach is. Like if I was on deck or in the hole, you kind of knew my approach. Like if you were standing there right beside me, like, and you asked me like, hey, what's your approach on this guy? I would tell you like what it is. And so I just think that's really cool that you got to kind of see a little bit of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was talking to you quite a bit in the dugout.
Yeah.
I remember one time I think Coach Childress yelled at you because you were not focused, but
Not focused. Yeah, we'll let that one slide.
now you read a little bit of the book, and I know that your dad bought a couple copies and said it was a good stocking stuffer. So
Okay.
did you like the book, and do you agree
Yeah,
it would be a good
I
stocking
love the
stuffer?
book. I mean, especially like whenever you started talking about I'm trying to remember the exact moment. I think it might have been the SEC tournament, if I'm not mistaken. Really like that. Those couple chapters, I think you kind of hit on those. And I really liked what you about the program, about the offseason stuff,
Yeah,
because I think that more so than any other thing that we do during the season is so critical to our development as men and both on and off the field. And I think that is what ultimately drives us to be, better, and it humbles us too. I mean, we're, very humble, and it's very revealing to our strengths and weaknesses as a team. And so I think that in itself helps us to understand what kind of team that we have in that given year. And we were able to, we were able to combat adversity maybe differently than what we would have approached it if we didn't do the program, if that makes sense. So
no,
I think it
definitely.
just it reveals a lot of things so we can catch it quickly if there is adversity, and know how to fix it more efficiently over time, and just continue to kind of ride that wave, so to speak.
Yeah, the program being kind of a military style, a workout that y'all do every year. Did y'all do it your junior year as well, and how'd that go?
We did it. We've done it every year, and they did it again this year, I believe. I think they posted some pictures and videos and
Yeah,
stuff. So, yeah, that I mean, and as those 40, those two. Well, I'm not gonna say 2 days, but those. I'm just gonna say those 24 to 48 hours is, you're not getting a lot of sleep, because you're just constantly thinking about what you're having to do, like on those like next 2 days, either that afternoon and nighttime or that early morning time. So
yeah,
you're constantly, your brain's wired for those for those 30, I'm just going to say 36 hours. So
definitely. Yeah.
yeah,
Now,
it's intense.
now the year I was with y'all with the book, you
Mhm.
didn't hit as well as you would have liked. I think that's fair to say. But then
Yeah.
you a year later, your junior year, so the 2019 season, you were just on
Mhm.
an absolute tear. I think you were hitting 421 with a almost 800 slugging percentage. You hit more home runs in that shortened season than you did the year before and your freshman
Mhm.
year. So what was that junior year like, and what did it feel like being on, all over the barrel pretty much every game?
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, I mean, I made some adjustments, and they were pretty similar to the adjustments that I had been previously working on in the Cape at that point. And so, kind of transitioning from, okay, so just kind of giving the timeline here. So, this is the first time in the fall, this past junior year, that I got to work with Coach Kaye. And I think that was a huge piece, because he was able to kind of teach me some things about my swing that I didn't already know, and so that was super helpful, and especially just being able to build up that consistency over time. And I would be the first to tell you, like, I did not look like my spring, the way I looked in the spring, it was not how I looked in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
My fall was actually a little rocky, and I think it was
Really?
just because I was trying to speed myself up again. And so Kaya and I actually worked on a lot of stuff during that winter time, before went back, and then obviously early spring, and definitely refined some things. And I think I got to a good point at the beginning of the season where I felt super comfortable within myself, and I just felt like my psyche and my mental state was there as well. Like, it wasn't just my swing; it was, all right, I built up enough confidence to where, my swing's in a good place. I just got to keep telling myself, like, there's nothing wrong with it. It
Mm-hmm.
is truly about, now let's pick out the right pitch to swing at, and let's go. And so that, I mean, and ultimately that's what I ended up doing throughout the course of it. I had about 4 or 5 drills that I did every single day, to maintain kind of the physical swing path and the mechanical side of it. And so as long as I did those, I only had to worry about the mental side, which was awesome. So
Yeah.
as long as I kept my mind at a consistent rate and just focusing on visualizing in the on deck and in the hole, what pitch I wanted to swing at, I was in a good spot.
Yeah. No, that definitely that about sums it up. Now, something that unfortunately happened, you only got to play in 18 games as a junior. The virus hit and the NCAA canceled the rest of the season. So take us into the room there. How did y'all find out? I think y'all were about to go to Auburn for
Yeah,
the first
it was
conference.
pretty crazy. At first I remember just kind of hearing about it on the news. It was slowly kind of trickling, into, bigger cities and whatnot. And,
Yeah.
we just thought it was, another, oh, it'll go away and within a couple days. Right.
Right.
Obviously that did not end up being the case, but, even our coaches, they were like, like we're going to play. Like, there's no doubt about it. And then
Mhm.
the day came that morning when we were leaving. I believe it was a Thursday. We were supposed to leave, and we had all of our bags packed up. I think we were about like 15 minutes from getting on the bus to go to the airport. And our athletic director called Coach Childress, and all the coaches had a meeting upstairs before we were leaving. And it took them, gosh, I think it took them over probably close to 45 minutes to an hour, I would say. So at that point, because we were supposed to leave at, I think it was like 11:30 or something, and it ended up their meeting ended up going past that. So we
Yeah.
obviously knew something was up,
Yeah.
and we actually turned on the news and saw that we turned on the news channels and just saw that the virus was continuing to get worse. And we were just like, okay, like obviously this has something to do with it. And at first we just thought they were being extra precautious, like, okay, like just make sure we're not gonna. And we all thought, okay, our plane's gonna get delayed, like it's fine,
Right.
we're just gonna wait till this settles down, or we're just gonna move everything up a day so we would travel in, play that night, play Saturday, Sunday, whatever. And that ended up not being the case either. The saddest thing was, I think Coach Childress, all the coaches came down. We basically just had a team meeting right then and there. He said, we're not traveling. Like, all the SEC games are getting postponed until further notice. And I mean, that was the last time we were together as a team, if I remember correctly. So it was pretty sad. I mean, we had gone through so much together to get to that point. And I think, I'm speaking for every college athlete here, but you make so many sacrifices to get to a point that it hurts to
Mhm.
end the season like that. I mean,
Right.
it stinks. And I guess kind of fast forwarding to that night, after unpacking everything, later that afternoon, then the March Madness gets canceled.
Yeah.
We're
That's
like,
another
okay, this
signal.
is
Another
seriously
signal.
because March Madness makes billions of dollars
Right.
every year, right?
Hmm.
So I mean, that was, and we knew at that point that this thing was serious, because if the NCAA was canceling March Madness, and then obviously all the pro sports, the NBA,
Yeah.
MLB, all went on lockdown, I mean, we knew this thing was serious. So, but the scariest thing was we didn't know who had it, how it got spread. Everyone was in that chaotic period. So we were just told, hey, everyone just stay a week or so in College Station, like don't leave your house kind of deal, and quarantine,
Hmm.
before quarantine actually became
Right.
like a mandated thing. And so we did that. Um, and ended up ended up going, fast forward, a week later, ended up going home and didn't come back to
Yeah.
College Station
Yeah.
for another until I got back here from pro ball. So
Really.
it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't. I try. I mean, I obviously trained as much as I could before the gyms got shut down. Then the gyms got shut down. Fortunately enough, I had a few private, instructors that opened up their facility for me. They cleaned it. They made sure like I sanitized everything before and after I left, and they just opened it up to me. And so I was actually able to get workouts and hitting the cages a little bit during all this stuff when everything was supposedly closed down.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
Yeah. So March, usually, you're playing all the way through June. And so you're playing through the draft because, they always have the videos of the guys finding out like during.
And the cool thing was this year they were supposed to have it in Omaha.
Oh, okay.
And that all got canceled.
Yeah, exactly. So this is way different, unprecedented, where you have this several month period where your attention shifts from your college season to the draft, but you have a long period of time. So what did you do during that time? Like, are you talking to MLB teams, or how do you build up your draft stock with no
Yeah,
games?
so I guess kind of going through that period, that 2 to 3 month period of
Right.
The questions were actually revolving around, have you been working out? Have you been throwing? Have you been hitting? Like, do you have any video?
Okay.
Because there was no season. So it's like this was a crapshoot in the making. I mean, it was literally, they were just basing everything that they had saw in the spring, and obviously using that small sample of my junior year along with my full season of the Cape, my last 2 years and at A&M, and then obviously in the Northwoods. But it was just, it felt to me like everything was kind of robbed at that point. Like, I mean, I felt like I had made a pretty good case for myself, but at the same time, it was still nerve-wracking to sit here and be like, look, like, I did the best I could to give you something to show you what I have. And so, I definitely finished on a strong note, which, what was definitely the positive out of all that. But at the same time, you don't know where their information is coming from. You don't know what information is being given to them. You don't know what kind of video they're using. You don't know whether they're basing your draft stock off previous accomplishments or failures, or if they're basing it off, what have you done for me now? Right. So that was the toughest part. And I will say a lot of teams that did reach out and that I did have Zoom calls with, and the Zoom calls were, I probably sat down and did 15 Zoom calls.
Really?
So about half the teams. Yeah.
Okay.
But I would say a lot of the teams that I didn't have Zoom calls with, like, I had a pretty good rapport with. Like, I had built up a lot of relationships with those guys, and so I would just talk to them over the phone. But as it got closer to the draft, you kind of notice like their questions. I had multiple calls with some of the guys. Yeah. Just to continue to build up that rapport with them, and so it was very weird. Like, just because usually they would fly you out to they would obviously have some sort of training site, if you will, or like some sort of evaluation kind of going through their system. And so it was just, they were literally basing everything off of video and what they have heard from other people. And I mean, you really had to trust your scouts at this point, because they were the only ones that really knew you and that really took a chance on you. So yeah, man, it was crazy.
Well, another thing is that the draft was only 5 rounds.
Right. And that was the other kicker. It was like, okay, like, the draft's 5 rounds. Like, I still feel pretty confident, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if they're gonna, I just there was a lot of things going through my head that I just, did not want to be thinking about at that time. But there was nothing I could do. There was nothing anyone could do besides just continue to work and continue to improve for draft day. And then ultimately, caught me by surprise of getting shipped off to Seattle. So
right.
But we'll talk about that later.
So I was gonna ask you, did that catch you off by surprise, or like, do you? Yeah. I mean, how does that work? I mean, it's different this year, I guess, but I mean, do you have an advisor that's like telling you, okay, this is a likely destination, and then it can either be.
Are we talking about the draft?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah. So I'm my agent now, but at the time he was an advisor. But yes, he was he was the one making the phone call on my behalf.
Right.
Like he was the one getting the phone calls, I should say. And then as soon as, and like there were, I'm trying to remember, because after the first day, there was a chance I was going on the first day, but I didn't go on the first day. So that second day, my agents have been, they've been getting calls, left and right from, and they were representing other guys too in the draft. But at the time, I think there was about 3 teams that were interested. And he was kind of giving me the lay down of like, okay, if this team takes this guy, like there's a chance you could go here, and if this team takes this guy, then you're definitely going here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it was just there were multiple phone calls being had, and they were trying to build up. But at the same time, like this is all going word. You're taking someone's word for it, right? You're not like, this is not like signed and sealed and delivered. So this was it was a very it was very fast. It went very fast. Obviously super excited to be with the Mariners. They're a great organization. And it was, and here's the crazy thing. They were one of the teams that I never talked to before the draft. So if that tells you anything, the teams that talk to you aren't always the teams that, because they felt like the scouts and the upper level people just, it's all about who falls in love with you first. It really is.
So they probably they may have liked you all the whole time. They
just felt like they had a good hand in, and they didn't need to add any extra questions or anything to that. So I kind of got that vibe when I got to Seattle. I knew that they wanted me, and that I felt respected in that way. And obviously got to meet Jerry, got to meet Sky, got to meet all the coaching staff and all the players, and so I felt really comfortable there.
Yeah. Now, real quick before we move on to your Mariners experience, A&M had 3 draftees in the first 48 picks. And right. What do you think that says about the program that they've built at A&M in the last few years?
Yeah, like I said before,
the only university to do that, by the way, 3 in the first 48.
Yeah, it just shows the talent that we get at A&M. There's no doubt that Coach Seeley, Coach Childress, and now Coach Kaye, and Coach Pennington and all those, and Coach Simons as well. They all do a great job of recruiting. They all, they can use this now for a platform to kind of show, okay, hey, we're getting the best guys in Texas. We're developing the best guys in Texas. Coach Mack does a great job of our weightlifting program. And he is a guy that kind of goes unnoticed sometimes, but man, he does a fantastic job of just working our butts to build us back up, really. He breaks us down and builds us back up. And, I enjoyed every second that I had with him, because he truly gave me the right habits of working out every day, being able to be, have a healthy, balance in, what I'm eating, being able to kind of understand what hard work means. And so that was just so important to my development. And I think a lot of guys would agree with me on that, that have been in the program. And so, half the battle is just, getting yourself physically ready for baseball in the spring. And, you can't do that without a great weightlifting coach,
right?
And Coach Mack. So
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I tried to shine a light on him early in the book, which hopefully everyone should go buy. But now you get into playing in the minor leagues in the COVID era, right? In past years, you get drafted in the second round, then you go to rookie ball, right? Or most cases.
But you go to short season A ball.
Okay, yeah, short season. Now this year it was not like that. So what did you do right away? Because there was actually no minor league games that got played. Is that right?
Okay, so I'll try to I'll try to summarize it for you, because it can get pretty long. So okay, let's go back to so I was actually when I got drafted, that next week on that Monday, I flew out to Seattle with my dad for the first time for me. My dad actually has an office in Seattle, so he was able to kind of see some friends and stuff up there, and he had a friend that took us around. But anyways, got my medical stuff done, got my physical stuff done, flew back to Dallas on, I think it was a Wednesday. And then as soon as we landed, I went home, grabbed my stuff to go work out. While I was working out that afternoon, I got a call from a random number, and he still rags me for it. But Jerry DePoto was
GM.
calling me. Yeah, the GM. He was calling me, and I did not have his number saved because,
Yeah.
I mean, that night I literally had the night that I got drafted. He was one of the very first phone calls for me, but my phone froze up on me because I was getting so many texts and phone calls and stuff from people. So it was just kind of surreal that all happened. So I put my phone away for the whole night. I didn't even touch my phone. And woke up to about, oh gosh, it was probably about 300 text messages, about 70 or 80 like DMs on Snapchat. I mean, it was crazy. Anyways, but going back to kind of how that went, so picked up the phone. I was like, "Hello." He was like, "Zach." I was like, who is this? He's like,
Which
"Hey, it's
GM?
Jerry. Sorry, you probably don't have my number saved." I was like, I don't. I'm sorry. Like I told him I was like, I put my phone away,
Yeah.
on draft night and everything. He's like, "Yeah, it's all good. I get it." But anyways, he had called me and he's just telling me, how excited he was to get me. And, that's how the conversation started. And then he started talking about, he's like, "Well, what do you think about, the whole summer camp deal in Seattle?" I was like, "Well, it's a great opportunity for, to get baseball started back up again and just being able to get back out on the field." I mean, because at this
Right.
point, I'd have been on a baseball field in, gosh, probably 3 or 4 months. And so he's like, "Well, how would you like to be a part of it?" And I was like, I would love it, like didn't
Yeah.
hesitate on that.
Exactly.
He was like, "Well," he's like, "you got about 4 or 5 days to pack your bags, and you're coming up to Seattle to train with the big league guys."
Wow.
I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
And we're
Like,
and
I said that to him. I was like, "Jerry, are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like,
where were you when you were getting the phone
"I
call?
was working out at at DVAT Louisville. That's
Okay.
where I
Okay.
work at it right now." But yeah, dude. And then, I had been training like with these guys up at DBAT for,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
gosh, 7, 8 years. So I've been training with them since middle school. And
Hmm.
so for me to get that call, and because they obviously, we had just celebrated me getting drafted and everything, but I get that call and I go tell my one of the main guys that I got hooked up with early on, Dan Ortmeyer. I was like, "Dan, I'm going to summer training."
Yeah.
He's like, "You're freaking kidding me." I was like, "No, Jerry." Jerry just called me, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" And he was like, "You better go call your mom and dad right now,"
Yeah.
because I didn't told him. I literally just got off the phone, and so they were pretty. We were all pretty hyped about that, and so but just kind of fast forward, that was really exciting, and so going to that point, my mind just started racing. I was like, "Oh man," like because I was going to propose to my girlfriend at the time, Samantha. I was going to propose to her July. So the week this happened, it was like towards the end of June. So I
Okay.
think it was like the 23rd. I want to say. I think it was like the 23rd or 24th. I can't remember. But anyways, Jerry told me, got 4 or 5 days to pack your bags, and we're getting you a plane flight, out of Dallas to Seattle. I was like, "Okay, cool." But anyways, I plan to have it after July 4th to propose to her, and was getting the ring made and everything. The ring, luckily, the diamond was actually, it was not in transit yet to get the official band put on.
Okay.
So I called my jeweler right away. I was like, "Hey, like, can you like stop the shipment, or is there any way you can get the diamond that I picked out, and put it on a temporary band so I can propose to my girlfriend before I get on this plane flight to go to Seattle?" Because it would have been just absolutely heartbreaking if I would not have done that for her, just because I was literally gone for 5.5, 6 months. It was crazy. So I might be exaggerating. That might have been like 5 months. But anyways,
You
it
proposed.
was,
You proposed in Dallas, your hometown.
yes, yeah, and well, not my town, but in
Uh,
Dallas, I did.
yeah.
I went to Highland Park to do it. It's a quaint little, cool little park there with a lot of flowers and a nice scenery. So, but anyways, got that done, and he came in clutch with that. My jeweler did, and so I was like, "Okay, sweet." Obviously very nerve wracking, and this was all happening, and then threw an engagement party. My parents, my mom, mainly my mom, and a couple of our neighborhood friends and families all came over and scrambled together an engagement party. Samantha's family knew, so they all drove from Waco to Dallas. And we went to dinner and then took her to the park, proposed, came back to my house. We celebrated that. And then literally that next day in the afternoon, I was out to Seattle.
Yeah. Okay.
So it all happened really. So just kind of give you a timeline.
Yeah. Well, congrats on the engagement.
Thank you.
For the Aggies watching, didn't you met Samantha at fish camp? Is that correct?
I met Samantha at fish camp. I met her. Actually, I met her pretty early. So during the and I still laugh about it to this day because I told myself, I was like, it's like I'm gonna give it freshman year to kind of test the waters, kind of just see who's interested. I mean, at the time I was single, obviously ready to mingle, but didn't think it would happen that fast for me.
You're an A&M baseball player.
It was kind of crazy, but anyway, so all the freshman baseball players come in for summer bridge, which is in July, early July. It's like July 3rd, I think, is our first day there. But we would do summer classes. And so doing that, it's all athletes. It's only athletes that are pretty much there at the time. And so Samantha was actually there during the same summer bridge time. So we actually got to know each other before this fall semester started, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
So we had kind of built up that friendship, then turned into our real relationship kind of back into the summer. So it was pretty cool and then got together. August 28th is our day. So
just a great Aggie couple.
Or 20th. Gosh, she's gonna kill me for that.
Yeah, if she sees that, let's hope she doesn't see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you do all that. You go to Seattle, right? What goes on there? Is it all of like the high draft picks? Is it all the players? Like who goes up there? How does that work? And who are you playing?
So I was actually talking with Asa Lacey because he was in a similar position to me. As far as like just being a high draft guy, didn't know where he was getting sent. So the way the Mariners did it was actually a lot more unique and a lot more rare of an opportunity, especially like in my case, because I think most major league teams only had one, maybe two guys. Maybe it was mainly their first round picks.
Okay.
But there was a good amount that had a second round pick in there with that. So mainly two guys per this summer camp. But the Mariners had 4 of their 5 picks at summer camp.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So it was
yeah.
Me, Emerson, obviously, and then Tyler Keenan, and then Caden Polkovich. Those were the 4 guys that were the 3 guys that were with me. So, and that was a pretty cool experience, just, because it was also nice just because we had kind of built up friendships along the way, and just being able to kind of look out for each other, and, just we're all kind of going through the same thing. It was kind of crazy, and, this had never happened before. So
yeah, definitely.
We were obviously trying to soak it all in, but at the same time, it was just like, you got to act like one of the major league guys. Like you just got to be like them, and just respect, them. Obviously, you'd been watching these guys for years playing on TV, and then here you are playing with them. So yeah, it was crazy.
So then what happens after the Mariners actually start their season?
So then we had about 3.5 weeks that we had to kind of be with the major league team and train with them, right?
Definitely.
And so after that happened, the guys that weren't on the active roster, which, we were considered the taxi squad. And so I'm sure you've probably heard that term. But during the season, the taxi squad is a reserve of players that if someone gets sick, if someone gets hurt, if, something happens to a player on the active roster, then they pull up another guy from the taxi squad and they travel with the team and replace that guy until that guy can return. So that was what was in place. And, so Tacoma is 45 minutes south of Seattle, and that's where their AAA affiliate is. And so we would play against each other. We would inter squad and practice throughout each week for 8.5 weeks straight. And so that was interesting. I probably faced about each guy at least 10 to 15 times, each of the pitchers. And so, and these were guys, I mean, these were like high level prospects. I mean, these were, the Logan Gilberts, the George Kirby's, the Emerson Hancocks,
Yeah, Hancock.
the main bullpen guys that actually got brought up towards the year, Aaron Fletcher and, Gilbo and, all those guys. And so, it was just, and then obviously you got, Jared Kelnick was there.
Yeah.
Cal Riley, yeah. And then all the draft picks were obviously there since we were there before in Seattle. And, we were just there just to get the experience and the at bats in, because they didn't know, because they just wanted to give us some sort of a season. Since we didn't have one. And so that was the whole main goal for us being there. For other guys, like, I think Braden Bishop was one of them, Jake Fraley, Jose Marmoleos. I mean, those guys that, I talk to every day, those guys were there to get their work in, to get up into the major league team. So everybody's mindset was a little bit different, which is a little bit weird, just because, we were there, and they were obviously trying to get up to the big league team. Obviously, we didn't.
Yeah, they're not going to pick.
Our goal wasn't to do that. Our goal was to get our work in. So, it was just a different mindset for each guy. But at the same time, like, it was great getting to know everyone. It was a great time. Like, we would just, we would have a lot of bonding time out there. I mean, that's pretty much our schedule was wake up, eat breakfast at the field, do our warm ups, stretch, whatever we needed. And then we would work out on certain days, and then we would we would go into individual defense, and then we would hit on the field on a regular practice day, and then that was like our day. And then, like, on days where we scrimmage, I think the latest we got done was like 1:30 West Coast time, so 2:30 or 3:30 at the time. And so that was that was fun. I enjoyed getting to, just, it was just more eye reps for me, like just getting to see like the velocity and the stuff. I mean, it's crazy how different professional pitching is to college pitching. So
and no studying for tests and stuff anymore, right?
No, actually, I was taking 12 hours.
Were you really?
I was taking a full semester of classes during this whole thing. I forgot to mention that. Yeah. And I was so West Coast time, like I said, 8 a.m.s turned into 6 a.m.s, which turned into me waking up at 5:30 for a majority of the mornings. I was on the West Coast.
And you were actually going to class.
Had to. Yep.
Interesting. And so, how close are you to graduating?
I'm about a semester and a half, I think, now from graduating, so pretty close.
Do you plan on, doing that, wrapping that up soon, or waiting till after you're done playing?
I think I'm waiting. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up probably while I'm playing still, but I'm definitely gonna wait until I have a full fall semester, like a full, like, from September to December, where I can actually focus on school, or end of August to December. So.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing, you mentioned a lot of guys. You mentioned a lot of Mariners guys, right? They've had a lot of drafts, good draft picks, good prospects. And I saw even with Sheffield and Kyle Tucker. No, that's not his name. The center fielder. What's the center fielder? Kyle Lewis. Even with Kyle Lewis and Sheffield leaving to the majors, so they don't count anymore, they're still being the Mariners' top 5 farm systems in a lot of different publications. So how do you sum up the talent level that you're around, the young talent in the Mariners organization for the future?
I mean, all I know is that we're loaded, man. Like, it's kind of crazy, like to see how much talent the Mariners actually have. And I think once we kind of put it all together, and once we kind of get everyone up there, I think the Mariners are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the future. I mean, it's not going to take a long time. I think it's just a matter of it's literally a matter of time. I think until, like I said, until we all get up there. I mean, there's a lot of really solid prospects, and there's a lot of really good dudes in this clubhouse, in the minor league clubhouse right now. And I think we all enjoy being around each other. We all spend a lot of time in Peoria together, and obviously in Tacoma. So I think it's just being able to kind of mix in that with the veterans now. Kyle Lewis is a vet, so it's
Yeah.
just being able to kind of pick his brain. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is the young talented guys, like I love picking the brains of just everyone and anyone that's at the major league level, because there's just so much you can learn. Like one guy in particular, like Austin Nola,
Right.
he was one guy that he got traded to the Padres, but at the time, he was a guy that I hit with every day in the cage. And so I would literally just watch his routine and ask him what he's working on each day, just to kind of learn something from that and to maybe take something from that as well. So, every guy's different. Every guy has their own routine. Like I have my own routine. So it's just, what's going to work for you, what's going to give you the best opportunity to be successful at that level. And it's just so cool being around them and getting to talk to them. I mean, I was right across from Kyle Seager in the
Ooh,
locker room, so I got to talk to him a lot.
veteran.
I think it was him, Daniel Vogelbach. Kyle Lewis was like he was like kind of on my left side. D Gordon was like way over here, like behind me. Um, and then had Patrick Wisdom. I think he got released, but I mean, needless to say, I mean, it was definitely an experience of a lifetime. I mean, just kind of really getting my feet wet, but in a big way. So,
No, that was great that you got to be around some of those longtime veteran MLB players.
oh yeah,
Not just the young guys.
right. No, yeah, it was, like I said, it was the coolest experience, and I got to talk to Kyle Lewis a little bit, and he's a really cool guy, and really enjoy getting to play a little bit with him out in the outfield. I know there was a couple balls that we ran down together in the gap. So
Yeah. All right, Zach. That's all I got for you, man.
all right, man.
Thank you for taking the time. And I can't wait for your big league debut. I think it's going to be here pretty soon, hopefully.
Hopefully.